This nearly 20-year-old game might be Rockstar's masterpiece, and everyone stopped talking about it.
We can't always fight nature. Yeah. We can fight change.
It was released in 2010, and it did so well that Rockstar made a follow-up. A game that sold millions of copies worldwide and is still talked about in the gaming zeitgeist. But that's not what this video is about. It's not about Red Dead 2, but about Red Dead 1's greatness and how it's slowly losing its standing in gaming discussions because of Red Dead 2.
It was really only this year that I was able to play Red Dead 1 just because it was released on mobile through Netflix of all places. I was so excited to get back into the world of Red Dead Redemption just because Red Dead 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. I was blind coming into the first game. I really had no idea how the story would be or what type of character John Marston became after the events of Red Dead 2. So I'm really reviewing this game without any sort of nostalgia or bias whatsoever. I will say that the best aspect of the game is its story. Unlike Red Dead 2 where it was about the whole gang, this one's just focused on John and his quest. It's a more self-contained and short story. To me, it plays out more like a film rather than a long-length TV show. You, as the gamer, you really know nothing of John except for the bits that he does decide to share about the downfall of the gang that he used to ride with or his past. And I think this artistic choice works so well because it's not about his past. It's not about the gang, it's about the consequences of his old criminal life and how it's really starting to endanger his family and their future. I'd also like to add about Dutch Vanderlinde because he only has approximately 8 to 10 minutes of screen time, I think, throughout the whole game. But he's such a big character that he continuously haunts the story and drops one of the greatest monologues I've ever heard in gaming.
I got a plan, John.
Oh, brother!
I also don't feel like the atmosphere shift from Red Dead 1 to Red Dead 2 is being talked about enough. For me, the first game is clearly grittier and darker. All of the random NPC encounters and the side missions only illustrate my point. It wasn't like RDR2 where there were still parts to me that felt warm and cozy. To me, this game just decides to showcase how bad humanity can be when really given the freedom. The environment feels lifeless in a good way. You feel that this world, the history of it, is really built on lawlessness and just pure despair. I think they really set the tone of what the Wild West was. In terms of gameplay, this is where I think I'll have criticisms because innovation has never been Rockstar's strength as game developers. To me, the missions feel very linear. The game will ask you to do one specific thing, and if you do decide to accomplish a mission in your own way or in a way that the game didn't program, you'll really expect a game over screen 1 second after you do that. I believe Nakey Jakey has already made this type of video. I'm not gonna rehash things, but that has always been the formula of Rockstar ever since. Gameplay is not one of their focus when it comes to making games. I think gameplay is a close third priority when it comes to it. They're more focused on story, they're most focused on atmosphere, they're more focused on immersion. So while I feel like you can generalize the mission to be just shoot this person, run, and go to a different place to accomplish the mission, I do feel like the set pieces and the environment keep it interesting, even just until the end of the story. The question of RDR1 being good, I'd say definitely. It remains an excellently made game. All the actors that were involved with the game did an excellent job delivering the story. For me, it's not a perfect game. There are criticisms like the one I've said about gameplay. And also, I feel like the Mexico chapter also felt a little dragged out. At the end of that chapter, I just wanted to finish it right away and just move on. I felt like the missions dragged on a bit too much, but other than that, really, the strengths of the game really outweigh its negatives. You know, the music, the use of harmonica, guitar, the use of the violin really set the tone of the Wild West. And as well as the story. I mean, I was so engrossed with the story of John and his desperation to find Abigail and Jack. And at the end of the story, I was just amazed that this type of storytelling is able to be told through video games.
I feel like this is where we're going to have a discussion. The question of, is Red Dead 2 harmful to Red Dead 1? Don't get me wrong, Red Dead Redemption 2 is a legendary game. Even nearly a decade after its release, it's still dominating discussions across forums, Reddit, and social media. It sold tens of millions of copies that I feel like people who don't even play games are aware of what Red Dead Redemption is. Heck, even your mama probably knows it, your grandmother probably knows it, your uncle probably knows it. It essentially became the face of the series, and I believe that's where the problem starts. Because when people think of Red Dead Redemption, they think of the second game, which I think discredits the greatness of Red Dead 1 itself. Or worse, leaves it forgotten. I honestly don't think that Red Dead 2 is harmful. I was just exaggerating for clickbait and retention. But I am observing the type of sentiment in social media where people say that Red Dead 1 is bad, clunky, and not even worth playing, despite being such an important story to the saga. I feel like you can't even fairly compare these two games. They were built with completely different goals in mind, I believe. To me, Red Dead Redemption 1 is smaller by design, it's more focused, direct, and centered entirely on John. So when people judge it against Red Dead Redemption 2's scale or realism, misses the point entirely. Because Red Dead 2 also deliberately slowed down its pacing because they wanted you to connect with the characters. They wanted to connect with the gang, with Arthur, with Dutch, with Molly, or with all the other characters in the gang. But Red Dead 1 wanted you to feel like you're being pressured the same way John's character was being pressured to ensure the safety of Abigail and John. For me, the problem isn't that Red Dead 1 is lacking or it's bad. People are evaluating it based on what it was never really trying to be. They didn't bother to expand the lore because they didn't plan for this to be a franchise, I'd say. Which is also why they never really... I'm saying really a lot, but which is also why they never bothered to expand on Bill, Javier, and Dutch in terms of their story and their characters. It doesn't make much sense to criticize its controls using today's standards. You know, of course, newer games will feel more refined just because of the technology. Red Dead 1 and the story of John, and by extension Jack, defined a generation. It is one of those games that show how powerful a narrative video games can be. There are a multitude of games that have been Western themed, but none of them have tried to replicate the scale or the focus on a grand story-driven experience. And it's disheartening to see that people who are fans of Red Dead 2 just look past Red Dead 1 just because of its age. We should talk about Red Dead 1 more. I had such an amazing experience playing Red Dead 1 and its DLC Undead Nightmare, which deserves a video in and of itself. It's clear that there was passion behind its creation, there was passion behind Red Dead 1. It came out during a time where Rockstar were pumping out games like a machine, you know, all with different ideas and intentions too, and it showed with Red Dead 1. It came during a time where they released Bully, they released so many GTA games, they also released LA Noire. I highly recommend fans of Red Dead 2 to play Red Dead 1. In fact, you can argue that if you play the second game first, it'll enhance your experience and appreciate the story of John even better. I mean, it certainly did for me. I connected with John more because in Red Dead 2 I connected with Arthur, so I never really cared for John in the epilogue, but playing Red Dead 1 really made me appreciate his story even better. I connected with John the more I look back at what Abigail and Jack had to go through in the Van der Linde gang, and the type of change or the type of redemption or repentance, I'd say, he had to make for the old life that he had. And spoiler alert, skip this part, it makes the ending of Jack taking revenge on Edgar Ross for the death of John, and also you can say for the death of Arthur and the entire gang, and him becoming a gunslinger, the very thing that John, Abigail, and the rest of his so-called uncles and Arthur wanted to prevent, all the more powerful. It's a full circle, and not really a happy one at that, which is why we should talk about Red Dead 1 more. It's a classic and it will remain so for generations to come. Thank you guys for watching. If you've reached the end of this video, it's definitely been fun. It's been a fun process to do. This is my first time making a video, showing my face on camera and posting it on the internet, so it's definitely been a fun experience. I definitely have more content planned, so stick around for that. So subscribe to my YouTube. Also, follow me on TikTok and Instagram. I am able to interact with my followers there. It's been flavorful. It's been FLEVVA. I'm FLEVVA. And see you on the next video. Bye-bye.